Wake up, Ethan. Wake up. Time to be awake, Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
This is no longer a dream. This is a nightmare. Wake up.
Ethan, the dumb bitch is telling you to wake up.
Wake up.
Ethan, wake up.
Wake up, Ethan.
Ethan, wake up.
Wake up.
Since anyone?
Just wake up.
Right.
I genuinely think that Sam Hyde broke Ian. He says, I'm doing a documentary on Sam Hyde. I told him, and Anissa was here, I said, that's a huge mistake. Do not do it. Because Sam's the type of guy who's going to get the best of you, really, no matter what. It turns out he did, and he's even crazier than Ian anticipated.
Right.
He absolutely, I think it just broke him.
If you've seen my previous video on iDubbbz, you most likely will not be surprised with the kind of content that we will be going over today. In this episode of the Fall of iDubbbz saga, we will be discussing the latest content cop he made on H3H3 of all people. I'll begin by briefly giving a history lesson on who these two are for context before we get started. As I said in my previous video, iDubbbz and H3H3, along with guys like Max Mofo, Filthy Frank, PewDiePie, were all the top of their game in 2016. This is, of course, before the adpocalypse, which led to the bleaching of any kind of humor that would be deemed unfriendly to advertisers, which I do believe contributes to the lack of original creators today. Nonetheless, these were the quote-unquote good guys of that era. They stood up against the shitty content creators of that time and were seen as heroes on the platform, some of the most entertaining guys of that era of YouTube, really. Unfortunately, we all know what happened after that. Ian went on to disavow all of his previous fans and content and became really mature, and Ethan went on to host podcasts with his previous enemies like Trisha Paytas while appealing to a new progressive audience. I knew when people who knew nothing about who H3H3 was before his podcast started talking to me about that podcast with Trisha Paytas that it just was really over, and I haven't really watched him since then. Sure, some of iDubbbz's documentary videos were pretty good, but he never really matured as much as people think, evident by the fact that he's now throwing his friend under the bus for content rather than just talking to him privately. The thing is, they were both grifters in their own right. iDubbbz was never really that red-pilled based guy you thought he was, and he's alluded to that himself. I believe he always had more of a liberal left-wing mindset and just didn't really show it as much, as he was appealing to edgy content, and that did not align with his left-wing ideologies. Now that he's big enough to somehow curate an audience that is extremely left-leaning, he's been able to disavow all of his old content and fans and still be successful. That is, if you can call losing multiple boxing matches and not making money from any of those events successful. H3 has always been a grifter in his own right, and a lot of people know him for that. Stealing jokes from other people, throwing his friends under the bus like PewDiePie. I don't think I forgot about that. The one thing I can say about Ethan, however, is that I respect the fact that he did just recently admit that Sam Hyde inspired him quite a bit when he was getting started. Something that many of us have known for quite a long time now.
Now, I'll say Sam is an extraordinarily funny guy that inspired me a lot when I was coming up. But he's also like, he's just a little crazy. That's,
When Ethan changed his content up and began to appeal to a new audience of left-wing liberal people that are, super woke, of course, and very mature, a real problem arose when he began to choose a side in this conflict, which was the wrong side, and landed you on being against everything these liberal people stood for, causing much of his audience to abandon him. So now, with this new content cop, many of iDubbbz fans are gone and just extremely disappointed in him. It doesn't even come from a place of anger. It just is genuinely disappointing to see what he's become. He went from having a purpose and standing on his beliefs to completely just throwing all of that away and now appealing to things like sex work and censoring himself. And this content cop is a hollow shell of the content that he used to make. The only resemblance being that intro in the cop uniform. The remainder of the video is followed by an extremely cringy, effortless skit with some of Ethan's biggest enemies, I guess, and Hassan himself. A very well-known left-wing streamer and these other characters nobody even fucking knows, in an attempt to say Ethan bad. Bad for not supporting Palestine, he's a shitty boss to work for. We all know these things. This is nothing new. Everybody knows that Ethan seems to be an insufferable guy a lot of the time. The main issue and the reason that this video seems to have been made is the fact that one of these streamers that is an enemy of H3 actually caused CPS to be called on them.
Maybe once a week, I look into what Ethan Klein's been up to, And every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. This is where Ethan tells a story about his family getting giardia.
We already have Mold Mondays. Now we have Shit Saturdays.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get.
And understandably, Ethan was pretty upset about this, as he knows that Ian is friends with the streamer, and he asked him to, say something about it, and Ian refused because he's friends with her. That's really where this all started. The funny thing is that Ian and Anissa made a podcast just weeks before talking about how they don't want to get involved in this drama and would rather just talk to Ian privately, but instead of doing that, he went ahead and made this video anyway, as we can now see. Ethan's wife, Ela, as well, if you don't know, is from Israel and served in the Israeli army, so of course they have their own connections and ties there. They have been there many times, they have family there, so of course they're impartial to the conflict and the things that are going on right now. Now, does that make Ethan a bad guy? No, I don't necessarily believe it does, but anyway, Ian spends the rest of the video discussing why he believes he is a bad guy, not only for that, but a lot of other reasons, and it's just a sad excuse to try to gain money, I guess, or views off of this topic that really started with Ethan being upset that the streamer was trying to get CPS called on him and his family. This was never a content cop. The content cops of old had funny jokes and skits. Not only did they expose the toxic character on the platform at the time that they were focused on, they provided entertaining, engaging content for all of us to enjoy and mostly agree was great. This was a lazy excuse and a rug pull to the old fans and to act like he was going back to what he used to do and actually put some effort in. I was actually excited when I saw the title and saw that he was making a content cop and thought that it would be something good, but unfortunately it's not. It had none of the original charm of his old videos, and it just served as a sad excuse to garner more attention and clout from his new liberal fans and left-wing communities. Now that he's got Hassan on his team, this is a great opportunity to try and advertise Creator Clash 3, where he will surely get his fucking head beat in once again. Maybe this time, third time's a charm, and he'll get some fucking sense knocked into him. Who knows? He even goes on to defend Hassan for his comments on America deserving 9/11, which is just egregious and insane to me that he would try to find some excuse to do that.
You might remember him from such classics as
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
Now, to be clear, I knew about all these edgy and controversial jokes at the time we made the show together, because who am I to judge?
No, Ethan, those aren't jokes, right? When someone makes a controversial statement like that, that's not them trying to be funny. I can understand why you would conflate the two. That is someone who is extremely frustrated and passionate about a particular topic. In this case, American imperialism and terrorism.
Where he calls Ethan out for making these mistakes and fucking up, but then he covers all of the mistakes of his friends. Again, that streamer that seemingly got CPS called on Ethan for saying that she, on a weekly basis, checks out his streams and content, and made these comments saying that even if CPS comes to their school and engages with the kids, that they're not going to remember that. And then she herself does the research to see that that's not true and disproves her whole point, and Ian goes ahead and defends her for saying that, defends all of these people, and acts like they could do no wrong, and Ethan's in the wrong, and Ethan has mental issues. He's no matter if you agree with Ethan or not and you think he's a fucking shitty person, just trying to gaslight somebody and act like they are in the wrong because they don't agree with you politically is just completely fucking abhorrent and despicable, and really shows just how much of a mature guy Ian is. Right? Can't you tell? Again, it's just really a fucking sad excuse to use this old series as a way to draw people in and act like he was going to do anything that required any genuine level of effort. But in reality, all it was is a depressing reminder that these guys that we used to look up to are now shells of their former selves and will never be the creators that we looked up to. The whole video is just gaslighting Ethan, trying to lead him to believe that his mental health issues is what's causing him to act and think this way, while iDubbbz and the rest of these people are just all right. He's acting like he cares about Ethan and his mental health, and follows the video with a bunch of people giving half-assed compliments from his biggest haters that definitely won't be taken as condescending in any way, right?
Ethan Klein rocks a buzz cut pretty good, and I think he's got a good choice of facial hair.
What a terrible excuse of a content cop. That is not what this is. It's just a way for Ian to broadcast his beliefs and critique somebody and act like he's high and mighty and has done no wrong, and just show that he's woke and all of his progressiveness. And I'm not saying that people can't change, but for what? Nothing that he talks about now or aligns himself with seems to be genuine. It all seems to be influenced by Anissa. Like, he doesn't have his own kind of thoughts, and he's not his own man at all. He started his new self by growing out a mullet and a mustache and getting a bunch of shitty traditional tattoos, and that's somehow being true in your original self, just copying what is trending at the time. Just like with politics, what is trending right now? Being liberal, supporting Palestine. I'm not saying that's wrong. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. What I'm saying is that all he's done is follow trends and do what he believes is a safe bet. Back in 2016, he was riding that edgy train. Now being liberal, being woke is more popular. You're able to get more advertisers and be more advertiser friendly by doing that. So of course, that's what he's doing. None of it's original. And again, it's evident by the lack of effort in this fucking video. I know I made a video on Destiny being a cuck and all, but hopefully he's learned from that last relationship. And I also respect the fact that he called this shit out.
But don't pretend like you care about mental health or any of that cringe shit. But don't do this lefty bullshit of like, oh, you're presenting, these criticisms of what another person is saying. Well, maybe you're actually just fucking crazy, dude. Did you ever think that maybe every single thing you're saying is just the result of some huge mental health ailment that you're not capable of perceiving? But me, who exists, by the way, among the ranks of your harshest critics who constantly maybe I am able to perceive that thing that you're not. And I am able to diagnose you with that problem. And I am able to tell that every single thing you're saying is just coming from a place of deep insecurity and deep depression. And you just need to log off and touch grass and take a break. But like, this is the worst type of gaslighting in the universe. The internet was a better place when Ian just said the N-word.
iDubbbz is so mature now, and instead of talking to his friend in private, he makes a hit piece on him and a video with his biggest enemies to mock him and flip him off, and says fuck you, says he needs to get his ass beat. That's really the mature thing to do in this whole situation. I know that Ian has Ethan's best interests in mind. That's why he went to a psychologist and tried to get his rating brought down from an A to a B on his apology video, and went on to cry during that interview with the fucking therapy. He's so pathetic. It's just crazy to see what this guy has come to. But the really crazy thing is that that's who he was all along. I mean, it's great to see guys like Max Mofo, Chad, they're still doing good. They're doing their own thing. They didn't fall to these really cringy, shitty levels. They maybe did their own apologies, and they're just making content. They can still be respected for that. Filthy Frank, out of the question, doesn't even make YouTube videos anymore. He makes music. That's extremely respectable. None of his old fans, maybe some of them do. Nobody gives a fuck. They're happy for him. Cool, he's making music now. That's dope. Ian just has one train wreck after another. He has none of the original wit or character that he used to have, because I guess none of it was his own. Isn't it interesting that he can't come up with any original ideas or good content now that he became liberal and woke? Like, does that mean that you can't make entertaining videos or anything funny anymore just because you're liberal? I don't get that. Really, it's just sad to see, and I hope that more original creators can come up, rise from the ashes of these washed creators that we used to enjoy. Unfortunately, it really does seem like you either die a hero or live long enough to become the cuck, as I said before. It's really unfortunate. I hope that more lesser known creators like, maybe Turkey Tom or Diesel Patches or myself, somebody that comments on this type of shit, can garner some more light from these events, and they can honestly kind of do us a favor and give me content to talk about, because I don't make a lot of videos, and I do find content like this interesting to talk about because I'm passionate about these types of videos that I used to watch and these guys that I looked up to, and I really enjoyed their content. So again, not saying that I'm some type of pariah or I'm an amazing content creator, but I do hope that newer content creators who have more original ideas can kind of work their way up through the ranks of YouTube and kind of take the spot from these guys that are washed. I mean, get them out of here. We're done with them. We're moving on. Let's get some people that are actually creative and original on the platform leading the content. That's really all I have to say on this topic. Let me know what you guys think about the whole situation in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you do enjoy this type of content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.